Hello everyone and welcome to this IRQB Quality Monthly webinar on customer satisfaction. We're very happy to see a very large interest towards our webinars, continued strong interest with more than 300 registrations for this month's IRQB Quality Monthly. We're very happy to introduce this interesting topic of customer satisfaction to you this time. I see that some of you already started answering to our first Menti question, as the topic of customer satisfaction is really a very interesting one. We'd like to kick it off with a question: what does customer satisfaction mean for you? Because as the term might have a different understandings, then it would be interesting to know what are you mostly associated with. To answer to that question, please go to menti.com and use the code that you see in the upper part of your screen, which goes 68435527. This is not only going to be used for the questions that you can answer, but also the questions that you pose to our speakers. So I very much suggest you to find your way to the Menti platform in order for you to be able to ask questions and also answer these. We are quite happy to welcome a nice variety of speakers with us today. So I'm happy to welcome here today Bernhard Kaufmann, who is the Iris General Manager, Luise Nitsche, Quality System Manager at Siemens Mobility. We have Stephan Middelkamp also with us today, General Manager of Quality at Harting. And we have Wiert Kalkwijk from Nederlandse Spoorwegen, who is Head of Quality there. And last but definitely not least, François Ouellette, who is Lead Auditor at Lloyd's Register. So we have a nice mix of speakers today, representing system integrators, equipment manufacturers, operators, and auditors. Bernhard will then shortly be giving a short introduction to the topic, and then we'll hear from our speakers across the whole sector. Before I give the floor to Bernhard, I would like to let you know that all our IRQB Quality Monthly webinars are available on the IRQB website. So if you go to irqb.org, then you see in the main menu a menu item called Events. And if you click on that, then you will be able to see all the previous and upcoming editions. So I invite you to go there to see all the recordings in case you missed some of the webinars. And also for you to know, all our videos are available on our YouTube channel. So this includes also some additional videos to only the webinar recordings. So I suggest you subscribe to also IRQB's channel on YouTube to stay updated and to get notifications when we upload new videos. But without further ado, I would like to give the floor now to Bernhard Kaufmann, who will give the first introduction to this topic of customer satisfaction. Bernhard, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Arthur. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned in the presentation, I'm in charge of the IRIS Management Center, but as well coordinating the IRQB works, and also in charge of the ISO 22163 working group, enabling the evolution of the standard, and with an horizon of end of 2022. So today we will speak about customer satisfaction and try to explain you how through the performance management we will achieve this. So I will present you on the next slide why we are focusing today on the customer satisfaction. What is very interesting is that it was at the beginning of the first idea about IRIS scheme in 1999, the request coming from the operators, where they showed to the industry their unsatisfaction clearly. Can you put next slide, please, Arthur? Yes, thank you. So indeed, this was the moment where different stakeholders thought about we need to take much care of our customers, and we need to find out a way to have a trustful relationship with the customers, and also taking into account the evolution of supply chain, which becomes more and more worldwide. So, of course, the basic requirements, you have not to search very far. It's in the ISO 9001 and almost in all the latest versions, meaning that it's seen as a general benefit in the introduction. It's pushed through a process approach since the ISO 9001-2000 version. It's clearly a target in the scope for the system approach and the system organization of the companies. It's largely enhanced in the close customer focus, and it has even now a dedicated clause 912 in the last version of ISO 9001. Not the least, also, it's an important input for the management review. And if you take really into account the high-level structure of the management systems today, the leadership has become a very essential element of the standard. And of course, then the management review has to review regularly how all the main elements are taken into account from the organization, and as such, customer satisfaction. And last but not least, as well, it is seen as a general improvement. Let's go now on the next slide on the dedicated elements of the rail-specific requirements. Here you see the requirement established by ISO 9001 and the supplemental one dedicated to the rail sector. You see that monitoring customer perception is the aim of ISO 9001, and you feel already that this naming customer perception, you have heard it when your company was audited by one of our auditors. But in the supplemental elements, also here, we are speaking about customer complaints, which means that if customers' perception as expected by ISO 9001 is not at the expected level from the customers, of course, they will complain. And I would say, if you even go back in the 9001, 1997 or 1994 version, complaining was seen as an advantage because this was enabling the companies to progress, and I guess this is still the situation. Let's dig in deeper in the IRIS scheme, and on the next slide we will see how in the IRIS Certification Conformity Assessment 2020 version we have tried to develop the requirement of the standard into a way enabling the auditors to assess the situation in the companies. And here I have to say that this is a core part of the IRIS scoring system currently. First, you have in the clause 13.2b and in the appendix 4 a very detailed way explained how this is taken into account by the assessment methodology of IRIS. And also, if I would like to make a focus on the customer perception, where taking into account the customer feedbacks and the KPI measurements, you have different ways how this is taken into account. You can see here on the slide an extract of the conformity assessment with the different clauses where there are 5 dedicated questions with specific maturity levels where the auditor will be able to assess how customer satisfaction is managed and expressed in your organization. you see as well that in the different KPIs which are taken into account for this customer perception, based on the clause 9111 from G to I, you have different elements, and the first one is as well customer satisfaction, where a KPI evaluation matrix has to be taken into account. So this is how we at IRQB we see the way between the standard requirement from ISO 9001 through the standard requirement supplemental to the rail sector and the assessment methodology. Let's come now to the awarding you get after an audit, and on the next slide you will see how in the conformity assessment we also express this impact directly on the quality performance level. And you are all knowing that we are today implementing 3 levels, the bronze level, the silver level, and very soon it's planned on 1st of September 2021, the gold level. So here as well, it's an extract of the rules, and you see that the maturity level needed, which is shortly called able for bronze, transparent for silver, and top performing for gold, is linked to a certain level of expectation. And if I take the customer perception element, you see that this is linked to a score over 75% for the silver level and will be more than 85% for the gold level. So here as well, through the different assessments done on the KPI and on the customer perception, the auditor will be able to assess you on a given level, which then will enable IMC, the IRIS Management Center, to establish and to award this one of these quality performance level. But later on, François will explain us a little bit how he is doing this on an assessment. On the next slide, I would just like to focus on the upcoming gold level, where the customer satisfaction will be at, I would say, even an extended level, because to get the gold level, not only a percentage in terms of customer perception is needed, but here as well, it will be needed to have a clear customer feedback and, of course, a positive feedback from the customer, directly analyzed and assessed by the auditor during the audit. So here just this document which has to be filled by the customers and which you will have to forward to your auditor a little bit in advance in order that he can already prepare his assessment and see if effectively the selected customers are satisfied, and in this case will enable you to get awarded with the gold level. So if I would like to summarize on the next slide, I would say that customer satisfaction is clearly a cornerstone of the company's organization, and that's also why I was really happy to see that in the first poll you mainly selected the first solution, which is of course a very important element of the answer. The second point is that this customer satisfaction will clearly give confidence to the management system you are implementing in your organization, and each management system might differ according your activity, according your targets, your strategy, and so on, but the aim is the same. You want to satisfy your customers in order to get more order, repetitive order, and of course to be also recognized as such. This gives immediately a link to the third element, which is the trust, because the trust is then later the way how a customer will have confidence, but without coming to have his own first article inspection, audits, and so on, where we say, okay, I know the scheme, the IRIS scheme with the ISO part, with the specific rail part, with the customer perception analysis, with the awarding of quality performance level. This gives me trust, and then I know already that the company is right organized. Last but not least, also, all this is clearly shown on the IRIS portal. And this means that everyone, all public, have a direct access to the portal and is able to see which company is IRIS certified and which is the awarded quality performance level. This means that, moreover, globally, it's a totally transparent way of showing the situation in the rail sector and the performance of the companies awarded in the IRIS scheme. And this is the link between the customer satisfaction and the performance. So this is the introduction and the technical and standard elements where the IRIS scheme is applied. Now I would like to hand over to the next speakers who will give you insights on their application, their understanding, or their assessment. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much to be present in this webinar.
Thank you very much, Bernard, for this interesting insight to the topic. I will very shortly now be handing over the floor to Luise Nitsche from Siemens Mobility. Before I do, I just wanted to remind you that you can ask questions and answer to the questions that we pose on Mentimeter. So for that, in order to access the platform, please go to menti.com and use the code that you see in the upper part of the slide. I can let you in on a small secret. We will be asking you more questions, and I think that our next speaker will also be doing so. But without further ado, I would now like to give the floor to Luise Nitsche from Siemens Mobility. Luise, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Arthur. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Luise Nitsche, and I'm a Quality Systems Manager within Siemens Mobility with focusing on IRIS certification. I am in charge of managing the IRIS certification community within Siemens Mobility, and I am part of several IRQ working groups. Today, I would like to introduce the topic customer perception at Siemens to you. And then we can go to the next slide, please. First of all, I would like to give you a short overview of our company. Siemens Mobility is a worldwide operating system integrator with about 38,500 employees and an annual revenue of 9.1 billion euros. Our headquarters is located in Munich. We are offering to our customers rail infrastructure, rolling stock, customer services, turnkey projects, and intermodal solutions. Our first site was IRIS certified in 2006. Today, we have 22 certified sites within Siemens worldwide. As you can see on the map, we have certified sites in Europe and Asia. 6 out of 22 sites already achieved the silver quality performance level. The sites are located in Germany, Spain, Serbia, and Russia. Customer satisfaction is a very important precondition to reach the silver quality performance level and will be measured by the customer perception methodology in the IRIS audit. We have entered customer satisfaction deeply in our strategy, and that I would like to explain to you on my next slide. We want to be a partner of choice for our customers. Putting customers at the core is not only a management philosophy, it's part of Siemens Vision 2020 Plus strategy. We want to be a company that is obsessed with offering our customers a better experience every time we interact with them. Customer satisfaction is our priority. Our goal is to improve our customer satisfaction index by a further 20% at least. Based on our strategy, we have derived our 5 Siemens quality principles. The first quality principle is customer focus in all we do. The principle is broken down further to give a concrete behavior approach for our daily work regarding customer focus. Starting from the strategy and the quality principles, KPIs are derived to measure our performance relating customer perception. This I will explain later in my presentation. But now I have a question to you. We can go to the next slide. I would like to know from you what are the factors influencing customer satisfaction from your point of view. Therefore, please go to the Menti platform and write down quality. I think that is very important for customer satisfaction. Communication. Are there any other ideas? Well, from my point of view, the most important influencing factors are the delivered results. That means, of course, on time and on quality. For me, it's not really surprising that IRIS certification considers exactly the KPIs on-time delivery and non-conformities raised by the customers in the customer perception evaluation. But of course, there are other important influencing factors, as you wrote down. Partnership, reliability, technical support, service, communication. All the aspects are really important. I think now we can go to the next slide where I give you some aspects how we see the topic customer satisfaction. As a system integrator, we are a customer and a supplier as well. Customer feedback to our suppliers is as important as the analysis and improvement of our customer satisfaction. As a system integrator, we give a standardized customer feedback to our suppliers via supplier letters with supplier performance KPIs, a regular quality dialogue, and an annual supplier evaluation. On the other side, we are a customer. To understand customer satisfaction, we perform a Net Promoter Score survey, project-specific customer satisfaction surveys, and we evaluate customer perception KPIs like on-time delivery and quality performance KPIs. Internally, we analyze the customer satisfaction as well. We have factories which deliver only to internal customers. There, it is as well important to understand the customer needs. Therefore, customer satisfaction surveys are performed mostly on project level. Further customer perception KPIs are raised and analyzed. Giving feedback and the analysis of our customer feedback leads to process improvement and brings all stakeholders in the supply chain business value. On my next slide, I would like to explain more how we give feedback to our suppliers. Customer feedback to our suppliers is based on transparent KPIs and standardized processes within Siemens. On a monthly basis, we analyze the supplier performance KPIs regarding quality and logistics. This is done by a comprehensive dashboard where the data of all our sites are collected. This gives us the possibility to have a common and holistic overview of the supplier performance. This gives us within a monthly letter which is generated out of the system, the suppliers are informed about their performance. Based on the supplier performance KPIs, a quality dialogue with the suppliers and the supplier quality as well as the procurement department is regularly performed. In this meeting, measures are agreed for further improvement. And once a year, a supplier evaluation is done by a cross-functional team, which includes quality, logistics, procurement, and engineering. This cross-functional team evaluates the suppliers according to a standardized questionnaire as well as the reached performance of the supplier. The results of the supplier evaluation will be discussed with the suppliers, and strategic improvement measures as well as new targets will be agreed for the next fiscal year. Then we can go to the next slide, where I will explain how we get our customer feedback. Once a year, Siemens collects customer feedback using the globally established customer loyalty metric Net Promoter Score, NPS. Company working with the Net Promoter Score commit to this attitude along the processes and systems that foster long-term customer loyalty. Moreover, loyal customers do not only keep buying and increasing their purchases over time, they also are more likely to recommend Siemens to a colleague or a business partner. The Net Promoter Score stands for a systematic closed-loop approach that measures customer satisfaction of current Siemens customers on a regular yearly basis, resulting in the Net Promoter Score. Within this survey, the customers are asked to answer a short customer-friendly questionnaire with 6 questions. Customers are either surveyed by a brief phone call or an online interview, generating more than 27,000 customer feedbacks a year. The NPS score itself is based on the question, how likely is that you would recommend Siemens to a colleague or a business partner? The answers can be from 1, extremely unlikely, to 10, extremely likely. The NPS is calculated by the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. The scale of the NPS ranges from -100 to +100. The annual NPS measurement enables internal and external benchmarking as well as the identification of improvement areas. Moreover, it provides a valuable source of information and opportunities to derive diligent follow-up activities and monitor the development of the customer relationship. Equally important and of great value to Siemens business, besides the score itself, are the customer comments. During the survey, we received about 40,000 comments from our customer on where we could improve. A detailed analysis will lead to a broader understanding of our customer needs and expectations. This feedback is valuable source to identify improvement areas and define measures to foster customer loyalty. The defined measures are reviewed by the NPS board on a regular basis. Now we can go to my next slide where I would like to summarize my key messages. Customer satisfaction is based on trust, reliability, and delivered results like on-time delivery and quality performance. A detailed analysis of customer satisfaction and customer feedback is very valuable for us. This is done by the NPS method, project-specific surveys, and the analysis of our KPIs. The identification and implementation of improvements out of customer feedback brings business value and leads to a broader understanding of customer needs. Customer satisfaction is our priority. Thank you very much. Now I would like to hand back to Arthur.
Thank you very much, Luise, for this interesting presentation. Happy to see that we already have first questions coming in. Feel free to submit more if you have any on the Menti platform. As a next speaker, we have Stephan Middelkamp from Harting. And as I already told you before, we are happy to welcome speakers from different types of companies in the rail sector. So we just heard a presentation from a system integrator. So now we move on to a presentation by manufacturers. So Stephan, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Auditor. Good afternoon to everyone. And welcome from my side. My name is Stephan Middelkamp. I'm from Harting and being responsible there for quality. I'd like to start the presentation with a quote from our CEO and the owner of the company, because it's a family-owned company, Philip Harting, the chairman and CEO. And he claims quality is when the customer comes back and not the product. So in this sense, setting a satisfied customer who's coming back equal to the quality which we deliver. But of course, he didn't say us how do we ensure that the customer is satisfied and how do we ensure that he comes back. So let me give you just a very brief introduction to Harting to understand the answers which we are taking to make this a bit clearer for you. Next slide, please, Arthur. So Harting is a family-owned company. We make nowadays roughly 800 million euros turnover. We have 5,500 employees and are present worldwide. So we have 44 sales companies and 14 production plants. Headquarters in Germany, in Middelkamp. So compared to Siemens, a medium-sized company. So next one. But if you come to our products and solutions, so we are producing electric and electronic connectors, device termination and network components. So different electric and electromechanical components, but as well customized solutions like jumper cables or things like this. Are present in mobility as well, acting there as a full service provider and having different automotive solutions as well as special machines and tools. So because all these products can be used in various industries and applications, we have a rather broad customer bases in different branches. So we serve machinery and robotics, automation, transportation, of course, wind energy, power generation and distribution, but as well grocery, retailing, and the automotive industry. So in conclusion, we have more than 10,000 active customers, active buying customers, which brings us to the question, how do we really get the feedback from the customers and how do we know whether the customer is satisfied or not? Next slide, please. So from our point of view, the basis for customer satisfaction is a good communication with the customer. Werner already mentioned customer satisfaction has a lot to do with trust. So a way of securing trust is always communication. So you have to learn the expectations of your customer. Then you have to receive the feedback, start the dialogue, and understand from the customer how you are seen and discuss it with him, and afterwards improve the performance. So as you can see, 4 of the 5 points are about communication and getting into direct touch with your customer and having a good communicational level. For the next, we distinguish here between 2 different business categories, because from at least for this special topic, the different business categories lead to different tools. So please, next slide, Arthur. So as first business category, which we see as customized solution. For us, a customized solution, we develop a close solution with a customer together. We have a close collaboration from the beginning on, so already on PD level. So this collaborative development leads already to direct feedback at a very early stage. So you have to be in very close collaboration with the customer right from the beginning on. And since this is then project business, you have a direct customer connection over the whole product life cycle. So you get as well continuous customer feedback, but the feedback is of course more linked to the individual project and less to the overall performance. And then you can sum up all the feedbacks of the individual projects to get an overview of the performance of your company and where to provide. So in addition to this, we see the second business category. Arthur, please, the next slide. Here, the business category is products for us, so it's more catalog article. You could say a standard article. So usually the product is then developed either with a lead customer or according to market requirements defined beforehand. And here, the big difference is that the same product is used by multiple customers. So of course, you know the customer, but you're not in direct interaction with all of the customers. So therefore, we collect the customer feedback via different channels. So one still very important channel is the direct sales. So as you have seen, we have a lot of local subsidiaries, sales organizations, which are very close to the customer and are in constant contact with the customer. So there you get via the traditional ways like customer visits, boost, telephone calls, etc. You get a lot of feedback which need to be organized afterwards. Additionally, there are nowadays a lot of digital channels. Of course, you know this standard channels you see on a lot of web pages like chat, forum, but now there's as well digital booths very close to your customer, very specific for the target group then. And additionally, of course, big customer surveys, either local one for a single region or the global customer survey, which we're doing every second year to get the feedback from our customers with respect to our performance and how satisfied they are. So finally, next slide, please. So all this, what I just explained, we do for the different markets. So what's the railway specific regulations which we're seeing? For the railway customers, we have implemented a couple of additional measures to enhance the communication, partly driven by IRIS, but as well driven by the higher demands with respect to quality and expectation from the railway industry. So here we've implemented an additional yearly customer survey, which is now very recently based on this template Bernard has shown in his first slides. So mainly asking two questions, whether the organization provides its products and services on time, and whether the organization delivers high quality products and services. And here, very importantly, you have the possibility to add free text for all the details. What's the projects, on which projects have you delivered? What's your general feedback? For these questionnaire, we are sending out to our customers to get very individual feedback. And here important as well, we are sending it nowadays not to the headquarters, because we are a couple of big customers with headquarters like Luise has mentioned, collecting all the impressions, but we are sending them directly to the purchasing sites, because usually you get much better feedback and from the purchasing sites because they are more into the daily issues which you have and giving you feedback how to improve. And finally, in order to close the loop, we take these answers as a starting point then for the discussion and to align the expectations. So why do you think we have like this, and how can we improve and start then this process together? So thank you very much, and handing back to Arthur.
Thank you very much, Stephan, for this presentation. After hearing from a system integrator and from a manufacturer, I think it only makes sense to give the floor to an operator. So as the next speaker, I'm happy to introduce Wiert Kalkwijk from the Dutch Railways. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for the introduction. And thanks, Luise and Nitsche. Luise and Stephan. They both are suppliers of our organization, so we have a nice sequence. My name is Wiert Kalkwijk. I'm head of procurement for rail and supply chain. I'm also a member of IRQB since 2016 on behalf of Dutch Railways. And I'm currently also chairman of the working group 2 continuous improvement, and we're in group 9, co-chairman with my Belgian colleague for customer perception. And if you would go to the next slide, please. I would like to talk you through our views on customer satisfaction. First, give you an overview of our context, our operations in the Dutch railway sector, and then second, go to the different perspectives of customer satisfaction, being how you measure things, how we measure things, and what methods we would like to see. Measuring things, supply performance measuring and methods, what quality management and supply quality assurance we would like to recognize that makes us happy, that makes us satisfied. If you would go to the next slide, please. I'll give you an overview of our operation. We're by far the largest operator in the Netherlands. We do have some competition, but we're by far the largest. We have about 3,500 coaches running in the Netherlands. It's not the same as train. Of course, we have 30,000 people as Dutch Railways, about 10,000 operate on the trains, and 3,000 staff and maintenance to get the trains rolling. We do our own maintenance. We do not do infrastructure. And as you can see on this map, we have 35 sites. We have 4 maintenance workshops. We have a densely populated country and also high intensity railway lines. So we position the railway workshops at the end of the lines. The main maintenance workshops are in Amsterdam for high-speed trains. We run trains, service trains that go to Brussels or Paris, but also to Berlin. And we have in Leidschendam, near the city of Verheek, a workshop mainly for regional transport sprinters. In the north, Olle for intercity, and in the south, Maastricht for both. We have 2 refurbishment centers, one in the city of Haarlem. We have refurbishment, meaning it's almost like a train factory. We extend the life span of trains. We do also in Haarlem damage repairs after accidents and a large bogie workshop. And then we come to the south, Berkel and Schot, in the proximity of Tilburg. We have there a component factory. We do component factory refurbishment. Think about pantographs or HVAC or hygiene units. And that's also our location that is certified according to IRIS by HGS. And finally, we have our headquarters in Utrecht. Utrecht also being the busiest railway station in the Netherlands. As you can see from this overview, it's a densely populated country, highly intense railway system. Key importance for us is reliability and predictability. And to give you an example of how busy it is, from our main corridor from Eindhoven to Amsterdam, which is our busiest corridor, we run a 10-minute intercity rail service, but also on the same lines go regional trains and also cargo trains. So a small disturbance can ruin the whole system. So reliability, predictability is of key importance. And of course, very important for Dutch Railways is we want to give good service to our travelers and also for a reasonable price. We want to keep the price of a ticket as low as possible. If you could please go to the next slide, I will walk you through our operations. The cost, total lifecycle cost of our fleet consists of roughly about 1/3 initial purchasing, if we get the train, and 2/3 maintenance cost. And it's a bit of a busy picture, but you can see from the far right, we have daily inspections. We have in our 4 main workshops regular maintenance according to a schedule of 30,000 or 100,000 kilometers, and we also do repairs. We have the large facility in Haarlem, 900 people work there, where there's refurbishment, and we extend the life cycle of trains for another 15 years. And we have the facility, the component workshop, RMO of rotables in the south in Berkel-Ensveld, and like I said, we do there plant-to-craft, hygiene units, HVAC, systems like that. And somewhere in the middle, in the city of Tilburg, we have a large warehouse that provides the workshops of parts. And as you can see, we get suppliers in all phases of the life cycle of our trains. And from these different phases come different planning cycles and also different needs from NS, from Dutch Railways to our suppliers. And different needs lead to different expectations on customer satisfaction. If you go to the next slide, I'll walk you through there. We have for today 2 approaches, and which can be summarized in the QL system. Q standing for quality and the L for logistics. This is focusing on how we measure, what indicators we use. In principle, we have 8 indicators or KPIs, if you would like to use it like this. And you see on the left the foreign quality management. First and foremost in this company is the company certified according to ISO 9001, or preferably, of course, according to IRIS. It helps a lot. It's not a full requirement to be certified according to according to IRIS, but it does help a lot in communication and cooperation. And to elaborate a little bit further, we do sometimes ask politely, because there's no requirement, if you can have insight in the latest IRIS report. For some suppliers, it's not a problem. They're happy to share it with us, and for other organizations it is, but it does give a lot of insight and transparency about the working in the system. So that's the first item. The second is an approach, it's called QMQ, or Quality Management Questionnaire. It's a process assessment, and in it we assess the level of quality management at the supplier, and we use this in the selection process of a supplier. The third is the order yield, is the quality of order lines without non-conformities. And the fourth is, we're already then in business, of course, is the throughput time of NCRs or complaints from us to suppliers. And we calculate this based on the total number of quantity of NCRs in a certain period. And in it, we strongly advise to use the 8D methodology. And for NCR handling. On the right, you see the logistics indicators, slip and clip, contract reliability, the number of order lines delivered within delivery time as agreed upon in the agreement. The clip is the OTD, as already mentioned before, the on-time delivery of confirmed delivery time, the number of order lines delivered at delivery date confirmed by supplier to order confirmation. And seventh, to end up these 3 indicators on expediting, the number of order confirmations received in relation to the total number of order lines. And the 8th is the time to quote, is the time that is used in number of days of between the date that we send out a quotation and receive an answer from our supplier. This is in principle quarterly, it can also be due monthly, and of course, as you can imagine, it can be on ad hoc basis if an order line is not met, and we need this for our operations. I already talked with you about predictability, reliability. We immediately close the PDCA loop and we will be in contact. These indicators are translated into targets and mutually agreed between Dutch Railways and the supplier. So that's our system of measuring. The next slide, I will talk you through the methods we use, the methods for quality assurance to enable to get to customer satisfaction. In principle, we're very happy to see methods to use like this. It starts from the left and it ends with the right. It starts with, as already mentioned, the QMQ, the Quality Management Questionnaire. The Quality Management Questionnaire is not a system Audit is not duplication of quality management requirements, so sometimes it does contain some system elements. We use this in supplier selection. It says also SP and S, and the SP stands for spare parts. As you can see, we use a lot of spare parts during the life cycle of trains. And S, you see an increasing shift from delivery of parts to services, where parts are also delivered. And if you go from supplier selection to order, we have a couple of elements that we would like to see, and also we like to see in our format, such as the risk management. You see a lot of abbreviations. Dutch Railways likes a lot of abbreviations, and you may also recognize some abbreviations like APQP, PPAP from automotive standards, such as 6949 or maybe even QS 9000. The APQP is a central element in risk management, and the PPAP, the production part approval plan, ends with the FAI, the first article inspection. And in this first article inspection, we make direct reference to clause 8.9 of the Irish standard, and we even put it now in new contracts. So there's a direct reference on the level of AVI that we would like to see as suppliers. You see the green boxes, we would prefer to see in our format and our process. You see the blue boxes, FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis, CP for control plan, SPC, statistical process control, measurement system analysis. Quite happy to see it, of course, in supplier format. It's up to them. When we start production, we go to serial production, of course, after successful completion of the FAI, and then things can go wrong, of course, and we call it a complaint. And as mentioned before, we prefer the usage of the 8D method and also in our format. So that's the focus from most of all preventive and corrective when needed. If you go to the bottom, we see the auditing system. We do not do system audit. We do not do a system audit. We do not duplicate an ISO 9000 or an IRIS audit before supplier election. But what we do is actually do process audits, always based on the product and the process that is producing the products for us. The process audit is, of course, followed up with remarks or improvements. And in this, we use this to improve our quality management questionnaire on the right, as can be seen for services, spare parts. And we recently introduced a self-assessment tool. And on our wish list to develop further is supplier portal, where all these tools, all these methods can be communicated with the different suppliers. So that rounds up our overview of our view of our perception on what we measure and what methods we would like to see as an operator point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Now I'm happy to introduce our last but not the least speaker, definitely, François Ouellette. Who is an auditor, so giving a auditor perspective to our discussion. François, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Arthur. Good morning, everybody. Oh, sorry, I'm still in Canada, so that's why it's good morning for me. So good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I will be happy to present some aspect of what I actually focus when I look at customer satisfaction. So let's, next slide, please. So one of the most important things is that the distinction between customer perception and customer satisfaction. So what I do find a lot of times during audits is that people think that they know what the customer wants. They talk about their perception, which they think it's like a green apple, but it's actually not the same color. And then this is like a journey. Basically, we go with the first to understand the difference between what they think is the satisfactions. And then we are trying to look at a new approach and so on, which actually will be more focused on direct feedback from customer. So I've got a few Menti questions that I would like to ask you. Next slide. So if you look at all of the items below, so which one would you actually consider to put within your KPIs for customer satisfaction? So would you consider claims? Would you consider customer not answering your phone, recalls, defects, safety defects, unanswered survey. So would you actually consider those as part of the of your customer satisfaction? Because as you know, when we measure customer perception, we look at three things: on-time delivery, we look at the non-conformity raised by customer, but also we look at customer satisfaction. And there's a lot of gray areas of what we put into this measure. Good. So as we can see, we have a certain amount coming up, coming in. Okay. So as you can see, so that's actually the idea was to try to look at, do we use some of those in our customer satisfactions? We'll move to next slide for next slide. Now, the famous the on-time delivery. So if you have on-time delivery, you use that as a customer satisfaction. For example, 100% on-time delivery. Does it mean that yes, it's a customer satisfaction, the customer is satisfied, or no? Or it's rather a perception. Even though it's 100%, we still don't really know if the customer is satisfied. So that basically, this is what I'm trying to get there, because everybody is putting that as one of the indicators for customer satisfaction. So lots of time during the audits, we say, okay, yeah, you do consider on-time delivery, but on what basis would you consider that as real indicators of satisfactions? So yeah, we got some yes, and of course some perception, which is basically, I think it is a true true reality. The next one is actually, as you move up into next slide or next questions, as you move up into your journey in customer satisfactions, you have to look at new approach or situations. So when you look at all of the possibility layer, which one applies to you? Like, do you receive, do you have repeat business with customers? Do you have congratulation letters? Do you also have a, and it's really small there. Oh, are you in the top list of the suppliers for that customers? Do you receive customer survey, constructive surveys? Do you actually also have collaboration meetings, joint meetings, working together? And finally, how good are you at communicating or transparency about your communication, sharing your risk, sharing your strengths, sharing your weaknesses, and so on? So are you using those approach? Basically, those are the type of things that I'm looking to during the discussion I'm having on customer perceptions. I can see that we have a lot on communication, and it's also something that I saw. Oops, this is not me. Something is that's not my slide here. If we can go back to the presentation. Oops. Okay, good. So yeah, we don't jump into the question and answer. Basically, we can see that. So if we move on to the next slide. So what I wanted to do with the previous slide is actually to share with you that, you know, continuous improvement for customer satisfaction will bring you gold. And it's true. As Bernard showed you, through the different bronze, silver, and gold, customer perception is actually an area that actually going to get you to gold. But it has also all of these impact on everything. So you need to do continuous improvement. We need to see visible cultural shift from perception to satisfactions. Also looking at, typically, I am looking for improvement in the identification of the customer needs and expectations, the way that you identify the need and expectation. And my job is to raise improvement action requests in order to help you in that journey. So that's basically the type of things that will bring you gold. Next slide. So what do I do during my data review and preparation for the audit plan? So I normally pay attention a lot in the information that you're providing to me, as far as, do we have sufficient data? Do we have the right data? I'm looking at the pertinence of the KPIs that you have selected for non-conformities. So sometimes non-conformity raised by customer, people only use that, we only use the claims and things like that. So I'm looking at that. I'm also looking at all of the communication, positive and negative, that you're receiving from customers. When we rate the customer perception KPIs, of course, we look at non-conformity rates. This is more negative. We look at the positive or the negative on time delivery, looking also as something beside non-conformity and OTD for customer satisfaction. So this is where we actually use the other elements of the enablers and the process performance as indicated at the bottom of the slide. So for instance, if we move on the next slide, the shall are mandatory, but the shall will give you a lot of information. For example, quality policy. I've seen a lot of quality policy that actually have this motherhood statement of, yeah, the customer is blah, blah, blah. That's really nice. But in reality, what do you do about it? So I challenge those quality policy, also challenge the quality objectives, customer communication. But what will bring you lots of value is if you extend your questions to the should, paying a lot of attention on communication. And I guess I've heard the other speaker talking about response time, participation in the FAI, also the lots of communication or exchange, transparency. Those are the necessary things that you need to introduce in the audits that you're going to be performing in order to actually give you more information and insight in the way that the organization do the customer perceptions. The next slide. So during the audits, also what I do, because what I have received prior to the audit, then I go in detail into a dedicated session on customer perceptions about what is their performance on non-conformity, on claims, on OTD, and on everything else that they considered as customer satisfaction. What is it mostly important is what do they do when something is not satisfaction, it's dissatisfaction, because this is the most important. And then the outcome of the audit will always be a series of IRR in order to help them, and I would say it is helping them to see what would be the most beneficial IRR in order to help them to do their continuous improvement. And as a conclusion, what I normally say is bronze is the beginning of your journey in customer satisfactions. And as you get to silver, lucky for me, I have done one of the silver, a really, really small company. And you can see the cultural shift. You can see the way that they treat customer need is changing. And finally, this little company will also strive at gold probably next year with the direct customer feedback and other means of measuring their satisfactions. So I would say that as an auditor, you're also part of their journey. You're not just there to do the enabler part, but the silver and gold is also your responsibility as an auditor. You're part of their success. Good. Thank you. Back to you, Arthur.
Thank you very much for giving this new perspective of an auditor to our discussion today. We will now be moving on to the Q&A session, but before we do, I just would like to offer you the possibility to register for the next IRQB Quality Monthly, which is focusing on guidelines. It will take place on 4th of June. Please feel free to register yourself for the next edition, so you are already covered and know that you will be receiving soon the confirmation email. While you are subscribing yourself to the next IRQB Quality Monthly, I would start off with some questions we have received, and maybe I would start the question from Luise, you. And the question would be, why do you perform both the NPS survey and project-specific surveys?
Because the level is different. The NPS survey is based on a management level of a customer of us, and there we will get more general answers. If we perform a project-specific survey, we get more detailed answers regarding one specific project or one specific sites. And due to that, some sites, some certified sites, do additional to the Net Promoter Score a project-specific survey.
Thank you very much. I have here a next question for Harting. What is your experience with the return rate of this railway-specific customer survey, Stephan?
Okay, thanks for the question. Actually, this depends a bit. So we started with this railway-specific approach last year, additional to the ones we implemented beforehand. And last year we focused on the big customers dominating the markets, and that was not so easy to get individual feedbacks from the individual performance, and therefore we switched the approach a bit to the more general approach and using the standardized template from UNIFE, getting a much better success rate in the return rates. So at least from our impression, we see really development in the market, that it's getting more and more people are getting used to giving feedback to their customers and are really interested in the dialogue, starting the dialogue. So really improving situation.
Thank you very much for this answer. I have a question here for Dutch Railways. Do the Dutch Railways still come to visit a silver or gold IRIS certified company?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, actually we do. It does help a lot in communication and speeding up the process of auditing, because then we know that the methods and processes are in place. But we always visit order, product, process based. So yes, we still visit the companies.
Thank you very much for this answer. Also a question here for François, you. Is it different to evaluate customer satisfaction in a small, medium or large company?
Thank you. Yes, yeah, there are definitely what you're looking at, the documented information that is provided is definitely different. Customer needs and expectations are different. So that's the most important. You cannot have like a generic set of needs and expectations, because depending on where you stand in the supply chain, it's different. Also, when you're small, there is lots of things you can also do. You're normally going to have less customers, so you can probably try to treat them better in a sense. But then also, what can I say about the difference? There is, I think that everybody is influenced by the lowest level or the last level of the supply chain. So the most important part of the supply chain is the last one, because everybody is affected by that one. So customer satisfaction starts at the first part, the components level and so on. So I think that it is different. That's in conclusion, it's different. I don't look at exactly the same thing. Look at different approaches and something like that. And there's a lot of innovations I can see in small and medium ones. Okay, that's about the big difference that I can see.
Thank you very much for this kind reply. We have a question here specifically meant for Siemens regarding the feedback to suppliers. Is this given to all of your suppliers or only to dedicated ones, like so-called key suppliers?
It depends. We give feedback via the supplier letters to very many of our suppliers. But the quality dialogue and the supplier evaluation is done for selected suppliers, mainly for A suppliers. We classify our suppliers according to defined criteria, and we have A, B, and C suppliers.
Okay, this is great. Thank you very much for this answer, and thank you very much for the questions submitted. We are unfortunately out of time today, but the next IRQB Quality Monthly will already be taking place in the beginning of June, focusing on guidelines. The recording of this webinar will be made available on the IRQB website under the events section, as well as on our YouTube channel. All of you who have registered will also receive the recording to your email. Thank you very much for attending the webinar today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion and the input from our presenters. We invite you to register to the next webinar, and stay safe and see you soon. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.